Alright. Hopefully, this is working. Yep, it's working. Alright, well, because I don't really, have a lot of time for editing videos, um, live streaming is easier. Now, eventually, when I do become a bit more involved with the stuff, then I'll be able to, you know, edit videos and stuff like that. Maybe have editors. Who knows? But that is not the point of this live stream. The point of the live stream is to inform you all that there is the potential for a tornado outbreak tomorrow. And you guys may be wondering, oh, it's the end of March. I don't, what, how would this be? Stuff like that. Well, I'll show you how it's set up, but first off, let's take a look what the SPC has. The SPC, or the Storm Prediction Center, has a moderate risk for parts of northwestern Illinois. Now, obviously, that's where the big, potential violent, just potential violent storms would be, but the risk also includes, parts of Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, even down into Arkansas, maybe even Louisiana, but Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. That's basically it. But at least when it comes to the tornado risk. But we'll get to the tornado risk in a bit. Let's go from best to worst, if you will. So, best case scenario, wind, not really that big of a threat. The shear is quite nice there, and I'll show you guys that in a bit, but there isn't really a lower level jet, or at least there isn't really anything to protrude through the surface just to create very strong winds. Let's put it this way, the downdraft on the setup, the way this is set up is that it's going to be a long-lived supercell, so it's not going to be one of those things where the energy is going to immediately go right out. It's going to continue to sustain itself for ends upon end. Stuff like that. Just the typical Dawn of the Dead crap. So the wind, not that big of a threat. Now, let's take a look at the hail. Hail is a bit different. Hail, same area, highlighted over, but you also have this nice little 30% chance of hail being over an inch size hail. I just said hail over and over again. Welcome to my life. We're doing it live. But within that 30% risk, you also have a 10% chance of hail being greater than 2 inches. And as a matter of fact, I heard, I'm not sure because we're going to read through it in a bit, but I heard that the Storm Prediction Center labeled it as large to giant hail. I heard, haven't read all the way through it. We're all basically reacting to this together and basically getting my opinion face value. So, large hail is the highest risk when it comes to localized areas, would be mainly in the northwestern Illinois part, as well as southeastern Iowa, and little bits apart of the Mississippi River following along Missouri. Stuff like that. FS Rick News. Hello. So, now it's time to get to the nitty gritty of this, and it's the tornado threat. I mean, it just speaks for itself, honestly. I mean, look at that. I mean, that thing is just... quite widespread risk, but then once you take a look at the bigger numbers, the 10% and the 15% risk, that's just crazy. And you can also see that there's a hatch risk inside 10%. Not all the 10% is part of the hatch risk, though, but all the 15% is. So it's just one of those things where the ingredients are there for the potential of a tornado outbreak. And labeled in red with the little black lines going through, it shows that, there could potentially be some sort of violent action when it comes to severe activity in the northern Mississippi River Valley. So, do we have a possible for tornado today or no? Tonight, yes. I'll get to that at the end of the stream. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be streaming later tonight. That's when I'll actually self-promote everything. When it comes to just I'm streaming on this, I go to Twitter, put that out on some Discord servers. That's when I'll self-promote myself on there. But I'll get to that in a bit. Right now, this is the main focus. So let's go ahead and read what the Storm Prediction Center says. Now, personally, I kind of like to make my own forecasts based off of what is happening. But at times like these, where the Storm Prediction Center basically issues these big risks, they're basically the same as most people. What time? I plan on streaming tonight's events at around 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Those are tonight's, and those will last probably into the midnight hours. And that's hopefully when we'll get our next update on the day one risk, which will be the tornado outbreak. So let's take a read. Synopsis. The most prominent feature with the upper flow pattern excuse me, over the U.S. Saturday will be a strong shortwave trough shifting northeastward across the plains and evolving into a compact closed low. This low should reside over the mid-Missouri Valley during the afternoon and then continue to move northeastward to a position over Wisconsin by the end of that period. You'll be able to see on the model what they're talking about. A couple models, actually, that I'll show you, of how literally this typical low just comes through and decides to bring up all sorts of moisture and basically just so happens that the parameters are correct in creating an outbreak like this. It's just, let's put it this way. The timing is great for this thing. The timing is great for it to produce a tornado. And when hearing that, you're probably thinking, Nate, what are you talking about? Nothing is ever great when it comes to timing. No one would ever want this. And I'm talking about if there wanted to be some sort of outbreak at this time of year, the timing for that to happen could be better, but it's very unlikely, and this is probably the best that it would ever get in this region for this year. So, as you know, I gotta get my daily intake of lemonade. So, it's one of those things where the conditions are favorable with this low. At the surface, a low initially over Kansas is expected to move steadily northeastward in conjunction with the evolving upper low, occluding as it does. The low should reside over Iowa by late afternoon, early evening, and northeastern Wisconsin by the end of the period. A warm front extending east from the evolving low should reside over the Midwest through the daylight hours before advancing northward into the Great Lakes overnight, while a cold front shifts out of the plains and across the mid-Mississippi Valley through late afternoon, early evening. and then the Ohio, Tennessee, lower Mississippi valleys overnight. A significant severe weather event is expected across the northern Illinois area and portions of the adjacent states, focusing during the afternoon and early evening hours, meaning that this won't be in the middle of the night anymore, chat. It won't be in the middle of the night. So for the people who watch this after the fact, or who are watching this now and live in that area, you guys will be able to see the stuff coming towards you, which should theoretically be a whole lot better for you guys. But don't be so enveloped with what all is happening to the point where it risks your safety. So something that you do want to keep in mind as that continues. This just goes into specifics about what all is happening. So let's just go into the models, as we've basically read the overview of what all is happening. So, as you guys know, if you guys have been on my stream long enough, in the NAM, we trust. So, let's take a look at that said NAM model. And the NAM 3K continental US shows that into tomorrow, there's that low right there. And oh, there's those thunderstorms. So as it scrolls through real quick, and I'll just quickly scroll by because we'll go hour by hour as to what all is happening. You can see that this low creates that boundary that they were talking about. What's up, Justin? Thanks for coming out. This low drags up everything and creates this boundary. So, let's just get into the logistics of what all happens here. By tonight, and this is the risks that we were talking about before. There is the severe storms that we were talking about. And there's actually some severe storms down here too that will form earlier than that. So, the storms go by, and obviously that's a part of the low too. It seems to be around, I gotta do quick calculations because usually I'm used to just Eastern Standard Time, and this is all Central, so I gotta just basically subtract an extra hour. So this is right around, fun times, quick maths, 13Z, this is right around 1. This is right around 1 Central Standard Time. And look what forms. Starts to form sort of boundary, cold front that happens. Now, let's rewind a little bit and show you how this actually happens. If we go down to severe weather, I'll show you the most unstable Cape. Cape, in this case, is going to be this storm's best friend, or this storm system. CAPE stands for Convective Available Potential Energy. And that basically is just all the energy created by daytime heating. It's just all the moisture measured in joules per kilogram. So, bunch of energy when it comes to Central Missouri, up in the 2,000 joules per kilogram range. Should be over this flu by now, but I'm not. So just a wide range of values regarding to CAPE. And this is at 15Z. 15Z being 10 in the morning Central Standard Time. So it's going to be pretty moist out in Central Missouri. It's going to start getting that way towards Illinois as well. It actually gets that way in the furthest western parts of Illinois, up to 1,000 to maybe even 1,500 joules per kilogram. If we take a look at the heights when it comes to wind shear, boom. The trough protrudes itself into this entire risk. The jet stream has dipped further back, and I'll show you, I'll possibly show you a wider scale of the jet stream. A trough gets created, and the wind shear goes absolutely mental at this point. Now, stuff doesn't pop off quite yet because the parameters aren't at its max, and there are also some other limiting factors. So, but right now, at this moment, 82 knot shear based off of this model. Going further in, you get to take a look. Really, the CIN just measures for any sort of capping along the storms. So, yep. This is at 15Z, so this is at 10 right here. And you can see that a cap just attempts to develop along the lines here. And this will eventually go away as the dry line gets closer. And I'll show you what that all is in a bit. But this area all along here has some sort of capping, and this will limit thunderstorms from producing until it has basically enough energy and there's enough displacement when it comes to convection. Of course, convection is the rising of warm air and the falling of cold air, creating thunderstorms or precipitation, stuff like that. So the bigger displacement, the more energy you'll get. So, speaking of dew points, as we were talking about before, let's take a look, and you get to see the dry line. So, speaking of dry lines, oh, there's the dry line right in there. You can already see it forms. Well, it's actually currently on the Kansas-Missouri border at 10 tomorrow. So as this forms further, you can see pushes itself further and further. You can see how the dew points continue to absolutely rise. It actually gets almost up into the 70 degrees Fahrenheit range, which is really, really moist. You know, and then it continues to go out through as the low pushes off. So let's continue to take a look. This is now 18Z, so this is at 1. We'll take a look at the Cape and what all is there. And you can see, as I pull up 18Z, Cape is all right. It's almost up in the 3,000 joules per kilogram area. It's relatively unstable, as most people would say. And this range right here is mostly 2,000 joules per kilogram. Now notice, for the other risks, the reason why there isn't as much of a tornado risk for other areas is because there isn't as much Cape as there is over here. You need to take a look in southern Missouri. You know, yeah, there's 1,500 joules per kilogram, but it's not as much as this. Like, definitely not as much. Take a look at the cap inversion. See what all is from this. And yeah. I mean, it starts to go away as it gets closer to Illinois. And that's mainly because of all of the energy that is being produced. So that checks off. Let's take a look at the helicity. Now, the helicity is the rotation that is closer to the ground. It's lower level rotation that basically helps produce tornadoes. So let's take a look, and you can actually see that there is a bit of helicity in the northern part of Missouri heading into Illinois. And right there, right around where they've got that 15% risk, the helicity is above 200 m squared s negative squared. So it's relatively unstable. You've got all the parameters of how this, the helicity, is creating the rotation. Convection creates rotation. Convection also creates energy. The dry line converts or limits it to specific areas and makes it so that the buildup out in front of it makes it as moist as possible. And then the dry line, obviously, if stuff happens along the dry line, that's mainly a hail risk. And then you've got just basically, you got the trough, you got everything setting up for the most parts up in northern Illinois. Now, as we continue to take a look past it, this right here is 21Z. So that'll be 16. 4 o'clock. Helicity is now absolutely mental. It's about 300. And actually, if I take a sounding of this, will it be contaminated? It is contaminated. So helicity will probably be around 200 for the most part out in front of these storms. Now, quickly, I do want to take a look and see the dew points. That might actually be the dry line right there. Yep, and that is the dry line showing up on the helicity. So the dry line is getting relatively close to where all the cape is. So I'm going to circle this area right here. This is where there are some relatively pretty bad just some pretty bad values when it comes to, like, you know, the amounts of cape. So this is the dew points right here. Dew points are all relatively in their 60s, like high 60s, mid to high 60s. We'll get our cape in a second. Oh, very nice. Let's get our most unstable cape. So it's right around here. We'll get our cape. Okay, so we get our cape. I'll label this in a different color. We got our cape right around here. Let's get our upper air. Let's get wind. 500 millibars up in the sky. And we got... Oh, crap. I need a different color for this. For that one. Let's do green. We got our winds right in here. And what else do we need? We already labeled... no, wait, we didn't get helicity. Fun. Let's do helicity. Go through Saturday. We got helicity right around here. So, right in the middle of where all I circled is probably where the worst is going to be. Probably, according to this model that is approximately a day out. So, my forecast that I've circled, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle this area. Boom. Circled that area, and then I'm going to erase specific stuff. So that one, that one, that one, and that one. Right in there is where I think the worst is going to be. You're in all 4 of those. Seems legit. Well, then, do be careful, I would say. That's my prediction when it comes to what all is going to happen. Now, out of curiosity, let's take a look at the soundings within those areas. Pretty contaminated, but otherwise, Cape's relatively nice. photographs are quite nice with the shear. The helicity is quite nice. So it's relatively nice. You want to see some naders? Well, that's what tomorrow is for, huh? So that's my prediction. Mainly western part. Let's actually see if that's pretty consistent. So my risk actually is a little bit below. If we zoom into the tornado risk right here. Zoom in. Boom. There we go. So my risk actually is right around here when it comes to where the worst tornadoes could be. So if there's anyone who wants to storm chase this, which I do not really recommend, but I mean, I can't stop you, I would recommend being right around here, just so you can either go this way or this way or this way. But it's one of those things where let's circle right where I just predicted. Right here is where I believe the worst is going to happen when it comes to tomorrow's risk. So that's basically it. I will be streaming later tonight for the risk that I'm going to disclose now. Actually, I didn't disclose the one for tonight, really. So I guess I'll just show you guys. Tonight, not really too much. You got a hail risk, and you got a decent tornado risk. The tornado risk is going to be a bit further south of Kansas City, but it will be right along that area. Timing would be just evening hours, mainly. So it won't be one of those things where you'll be able to see it. You could spot and report stuff like that, but it's not going to be all too big when it comes to, like, oh, look at this. Giant hail. Boom. Giant, gargantuan tornadoes. Potential for tornado emergency tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Especially since I'm pretty sure Peoria is within that area, too. So, yeah. I mean, we will have to see for sure as to what all happens. But, I mean, we'll have to. You think tomorrow will be a PDS watch? Probably not. There's could potentially be a PDS watch, but I don't really think that there's going to be a PDS watch tomorrow. Although watch them issue a PDS watch because freaking scrubs. It's just not. Don't get me wrong. Tomorrow's outlook when it comes to like, presentation on what it shows when it comes to like the dew points, the cape, the helicity, stuff like that. It just doesn't compare to other high risks that they would issue a PDS tornado watch for, if you know what I mean. How come Peoria? Oh, I'm an idiot. That makes sense. I was about to say, I was like, why? How come the 15%, all that's not in the SIG risk? And then I realized what I said before in the beginning of the stream. I said, the significant risk, the hatch risk is inside the 10%, but the 10% is not inside the hatch risk. So, it's the same for the 15% risk. The 15% is in the hatch risk, but the hatch risk is not in the 15%. So it's just one of those things where I was like, it's an idiot. Oh, well, that's going to be quite interesting. Hopefully you do have a plan if there is a said tornado that comes near your area. Like a basement or the innermost part of your building, particularly a closet. Something like that. So, it's just one of those things where you gotta have plans in mind, and it wouldn't hurt if you also had like a helmet or something like that. But as I said, that's mainly where I predict the risk is going to be. I'm going to circle that area again so that you guys would know. But basically, oh, that's too wide of a circle. The southern end of the 15% risk going further down into Missouri, parts of Iowa, and yeah, basically just including the 10% risk except for a little bit further west. So stuff like that. You have a closet in the middle of a basement. Well, then just get into your basement and then get into the closet. Don't you hate when I don't set up stuff? Seems legit. All right, well, go into your closet inside your basement. That's how it works, chat. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be interesting, but yeah, that's really it. That's my prediction. I'm going to stream tonight, probably around 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And then I'm also going to do possibly a little mini stream before all of it gets done and underway. But if I don't, expect the stream to be right around 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern, tomorrow. And we'll get to see what all is happening when it comes to just regular stuff in general. Why is your audio always off when you go full screen? I don't know. It's stupid. I hate it with a passion. But oh well. Do you think there will be a high risk? There is the potential. If some stuff happens, then it probably could. But it's all gonna depend upon what all happens tonight. So we'll see. But anyway, guys, that's really gonna be it. If you guys don't mind doing me a favor and hitting the sub button or like button, sharing it with friends, stuff like that, that'd be great. Bit of a longer video / stream for just an update, but one of those things where, I don't really have time for editing videos, even though all by myself, all my lonesome. So I just felt like this thing couldn't wait. And I got a couple other stuff that I got to do tonight. So like the video. Helps me out with YouTube's algorithm. Subscribe. Share. And then while you're at it, while you're subscribing, go ahead and hit the bell just so you guys know that when I'm streaming so that we all can watch the fireworks show together. I know a bunch of other popular YouTubers are going to be live streaming this. I won't mention their names in fear of being copyright claimed and or just striked in general. So if you go watch their stuff, I won't be upset, won't be surprised. I'm still going to be doing stuff that I do, but I highly recommend you come over to my channel specifically because I think I'm a bit better than them. Today probably didn't show, but when I'm actually dissecting the thunderstorms out in person, it's perfect. I love doing it so much. It's basically what I do after I get out of college. So, and if you guys, want examples of that, take a look at the playlists that I created for you all. Probably not Dorian, because Dorian wasn't really that much of a tornado risk. I do favor severe weather more than tropical weather. No offense to anyone who loves that, but it's something that I've been more acquainted with. So if you guys take a look at those videos, the 2 tornado emergencies that I've ever had on my stream, Alexandria and then the Tishomingo storm that ended up being an EF1 of all things. And then the severe weather outbreak, that was our last moderate risk, our first one of the year, back in January on the 10th. This is our second moderate. If you want to go ahead and take a look at that, feel free to do so. Otherwise, guys, I will see you around later tonight. Hopefully right around 7 Central. So, see you guys later. Boo, 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 boo. I gotta figure out a better outro, chat. Gotta get some suggestions and stuff like that. Oh well.